Welcome everybody to our compliance presentation for indicators 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. We're going to go over what is expected to meet compliance in this area. This will be recorded and placed on our website. So if you need to revisit this webinar, it will be available for you to listen to it again. And we will post the actual PowerPoint presentation as well so that you can have access to that as well. In the chat box, if you guys can put your questions in the chat box, that will be helpful. We have staff that are available that should be replying as we go through this, and then any questions that are not answered, we will make sure and reach out to you guys to make sure that your questions are answered and you've been provided all the technical assistance needed. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the indicators, so make sure that you kind of understand the indicators. And then we're going to talk about what is required, and then we'll have some Q&A. So that's our goals for today. So here are the indicators that we talked about. So we're talking about indicator 4, disproportionality by discipline by race. We're talking about 9, disproportionality in special education by race, and 10, disproportionality and disability by race. So these 3 indicators, we are looking at districts to be at 0%, meaning that's compliant in that area, that everything is going good, that your policies, your procedures, and your practices are aligned with state and federal guidelines, but beyond that, that those policies, procedures, and practices also will spell out how are you implementing those state and federal guidelines in your district, because it can look different from district to district. So when you upload your policies, procedures, and practices for us to look at, if you've been identified for 4, 9, and 10, please make sure prior to doing so that your policies, procedures, and practices don't just state that you follow state and federal guidelines. We need more than that. We will be kicking it back if that's all that it says. So we need to know that you fully understand what these are asking and how you're implementing those in your district. And then we have indicator 11, child find. So that is making sure that from the date of parent consent on an initial evaluation until you have 45 days to actually determine eligibility. And if you've not met that 45-day timeline, then you're considered non-compliant in that area. And just keep in mind that natural factors that occur, you know, illnesses, snowstorms, you know, anything else that may occur is not a reason for missing this. So please look at that if that is your area, and make sure that your district is scheduling these timely enough that if they have to reschedule, that can take place and still meet your timeline. And then transition from part C to B, indicator 12, that's our little ones moving up from sooner start. So with that one there, you have to have an IEP, so eligibility and, if appropriate, an IEP in place on or before the 3rd birthday of this group of kiddos. So again, just with child find, you need to make sure we're scheduling these plenty of time that if we need to reschedule, that can occur and still meet our timeline. Because, you know, if a snowstorm happens on the child's 3rd birthday and you don't have that meeting, you're now in non-compliance in that area. And then secondary transition, and we're looking at those transition plans, that they are in place and you're working with that student to facilitate transition from high school and preparing them as best we can for after graduation to meet their post-secondary goals, whatever they choose to do. And so secondary transition, you know, needs to be in place on or before the 16th birthday or the first day of their freshman year, whichever one of those occurs first. And you must address education, training, and employment. Those 2 are required for all students. So make sure that post-secondary and annual goals are addressing those 2 areas. So in indicator 11, 12, and 13, those are our 100% compliant districts, meaning the federal level is requiring the states to be at 100% compliance in those areas. So in order for Oklahoma to be 100% compliant in 11, 12, and 13, we got to help the districts to become compliant in those. So that's what we're working toward, and that's the state's goal, and that is also our goal for you guys, is to become 100% compliant in 11, 12, and 13. And I've got many districts that I've worked with that struggled in those areas a little bit, and when they really dig down and figure out why we're not compliant in those areas, they fix that problem, and then, you know, they're moving right along and showing 100% compliance. So it can happen in those areas. So I want to talk about a couple dates to remember. So we need your improvement plans. We need your self-assessments for the indicators you're non-compliant in to be submitted to us by December 31st. Now I know that sounds like a very short timeline, but we want to make sure that if we have it, that you're working toward this, that have a plan, we're ready to go, and right after the holidays, you've got an entire semester to work toward compliance in these areas. If we wait too much after that, then we have some districts that don't have enough time to really work toward meeting compliance in some or all of these areas that you've been identified in. So we wanted to make sure you had ample time to do that, to work toward compliance, as well as some of our indicators, some of the information that you submit and such. We have to submit data and information in February to OSEP on that. So we've got to have it timely enough for us to review it as well and pull out what we need in order to send it on to show how the state of Oklahoma is meeting compliance in some of these indicators. So we have to have it timely enough. One thing I want to stress is that this information that you submit in GMS is a working document. So this is a document that we don't want you creating a plan one time and saying, I'm done. Because this is a living, breathing document. We want you in this. If you're looking at data and you're saying in indicator 11, this isn't working, we need to change our plan. I want you to go in and I want you to change your plan. I want to make sure that this plan is workable for you guys, manageable for the districts, and so that we can implement and reach compliance as quickly and as accurately as we can get information from it. So December 31st is our first submission deadline. So that's when we want you to submit as much as you can on your towards your indicators of drilling down to figure out why we're not compliant in it. And then for some of them, 11, 12, and 13, that improvement plan activity in submitting that. If you go through those self-assessment pieces and you figure out why, and looking at your data, why you're not compliant in those areas, your improvement plan and professional development will all fall into place after that. The hardest part is really getting down to figuring out why we're having a hard time in compliance in these areas. So that will help you to drive the rest of what you do. And so really we're looking from the time that you submit that until May 2020 that you implement your plan and activities. And again, if you discover that it's not working, you need to change it, we do want you to change it. And then in May of 2020, we are going to do the prong 2, the continuous compliance review. For 11, 12, and 13, we're looking to see, are we having continuous compliance, that we are applying this across the entire district and we are compliant in that area in all aspects. One of the things I want you to know is there's a tab for data for you to submit your findings as you go through your progress monitorings. This is not required for you guys. However, you might decide that this is beneficial and helpful for you to make sure that you're continuing to review your plan, checking to see how you are progressing toward this plan and to determine if you need to change your improvement activity or your plan. So that is a tool that's available for you guys. But again, optional, but I encourage it, not require it. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit further on what each different indicators have to do. So this is an important tab to remember. So indicator 4, 9, and 10, if you're non-compliant in some of those, you're going to go to the district entry tab, and I'm going to go through and show you pictures of what that system is going to look like. But for 4, 9, and 10, you're going to go and you're going to go through that self-assessment piece for that appropriate indicator for which you are non-compliant in. And then we need you to upload your policies, procedures, and practices. And I'm going to show you where to do that, but it's on the district review tab that you can upload that information to us and submit it. So everything's in the GMS system, all one system. For indicators 11, 12, and 13, again, you're going to do the district entry tab. I'm going to show you specifically what I'm talking about and where those tabs are, but you're going to do that for whichever indicator. Not all indicators you're going to do, only the ones you're non-compliant in. And then you're going to go to the improvement activity tab, and then you're going to put in your activity. How are you going to work toward? What is your plan to improve in this? Now, again, in parentheses, I'm telling you, the progress monitoring tab is not required for you guys to do, but it's there if you want to use it. An important aspect to remember is that if you are 95% or higher towards compliance, towards 100% compliance in 11, 12, and 13, all you have to do is the district entry tab. You don't have to do a plan. I would encourage you to do a plan because we are working toward 100% compliance, but it is not required. All right, so let's talk about what this looks like in GMS. So you're going to go to single sign-on, and we have added a special education compliance link there right above GMS Access Select. Now, you may not see all of these that we have access to, but those two links you will have. So the red arrow is pointing to the special education compliance link. That is where you're going to go to complete these requirements. Here's what it looks like in the system. So here I'm showing you the main tabs. You have the overview, contact, district entry tab that we've talked a little bit about, improvement activity tab that we've talked a little bit about, a tab for submitting this information to the State Department, and the data review tab that we've talked just a little bit about. So we're going to break each one of these down a little bit further so that you're fully understanding exactly how the system's going to work. First of all, we have the overview tab, and on this tab here, it is giving you a little bit of information, kind of what this is about, and then Cheryl and Felice's contact information. There's their email and there's their phone number. And so their role is to help you through this process, make sure you fully understand what is expected, and then help you guys meet the deadline and requirements. So sometimes they will call or they will email and say, just a reminder to the districts who have not submitted the information, and we'll just say, hey, just a reminder, this is due December 31st. Let me know if you have any questions or needing assistance. So sometimes you might get those questions, but that's their role, is to help facilitate you through this process. Oh, I forgot one thing. The contact information tab, I didn't put a picture of that up here, but it should have your superintendent and the special ed director's name on there. If that is not accurate, then you need to go back to your assurances and information that you've submitted on your agreements and such, and correct that information, because that information is pulling from some of the assurances and LEA agreements and such that you submit to us. So if that is incorrect contact information, that's how you correct that. All right, the next thing is our district entry tab. So when you see here the district entry, if you click that tab, it breaks down and opens up 2 additional links down below for you to select. We're talking about the compliance link. Wednesday, we talked about the differentiated monitoring link. So we're not going to go there today. We're going to stick over on the compliance link for today. Here's what it's going to look like. When you click that compliance link, it then breaks down into more links, so a 3rd level of links for you guys to go into. And here we have your compliance overview, indicator 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. All of those are our compliance indicators. And so here's everything you need if you're non-compliant in the area of compliance. So for the overview tab, it's going to give you an explanation and some summary of what's expected and understanding better of these indicators, and as well as some of your timelines. So it will have at the bottom the timeline. It will have at the bottom the how to submit information to us as well. So this is an important page. If you have some questions, you can go here to find your answers. And if you don't find them then, you can always go back and to contacting Cheryl and Felisa. So again, I said that if you are not designated for all of those indicators, that you don't have to complete them. So what we have done is we have preloaded this system. And we have preloaded it in that if you are only for indicator 11, that's the only one that it's going to allow you to enter any information. So for all of the other indicators that you're compliant with, that you don't have to do anything with, you're going to see this page here. It's going to tell you the indicator. It's going to tell you the kind of a little bit about the indicator just for reference purposes. But the most important is that just above that last line, that it's intentionally left blank. So that tells you we don't have to do anything in that indicator. So you can move on. So don't worry about those. So complete those tabs for which you are non-compliant in. And then the next step is going to be going to your improvement activities tab. And then when you click the improvement activities tab, it's going to break down into 2 additional tabs. So we have our compliance improvement and we have our progress monitoring tabs. And remember, I said earlier that progress monitoring tab, you guys are not required to do. You can do them if you choose to, but it is not required. You do need to put in for 11, 12, and 13 your compliance improvement activity. So you do need to come here for those indicators. And what you're going to do is in the first box, that big box there, you're going to tell us what is it you're going to do to help improve in this area. What's your plan? And then you see all those indicators. If you have multiple indicators and we want to merge some of our indicators together and kind of lump it into one plan because it makes sense and it works for your district, absolutely. We are all on board for that. So for instance, if you are non-compliant with indicator 12 and early childhood 7, and we want to lump those 2 together, absolutely, let's click both those buttons. We're going to put a plan in that's going to address both of those, and we're going to move on. We want to make this as simple as possible and not too overloaded here for you guys. And so some of these plans you may choose, we're going to address everything that we're non-compliant in. However, you might choose to only work on one of them right now. Once you get that one rolling and it's on a good track, we're showing some progress, we may then decide to open up and look at another one of our improvement activities and start on that one. So you don't have to start all of these at once. Eventually, we need you to be compliant in all of them, but we're realistic in that you have a lot on your plate. So we need to make this manageable. So what do you need to start with? But you have to address all of them and think about them. That way, when you're ready, you can move forward with the next plan. So the next piece in your plan here is putting who is responsible for conducting this or monitoring this. When is it going to begin and end? Again, you might have 2 or 3 different plans in here, but you may only want to work on one of them right now because you feel like that's enough for my staff, my district, for me to monitor right now with everything else. So we're going to take it one step at a time. That is fine. So you may have a begin date that maybe one starts March. Maybe it starts, February, who knows? It just depends. And this can be tweaked. You can change this at any time. So all of this is your improvement activity tab. You might decide that that improvement plan, we've implemented it, we've gathered some data on it, and we're deciding, this is not working very well. I want to change this in my plan. Absolutely, we want you to change it. We don't want to wait until the next packet of data comes out November 15th of next year for you to make any changes. This should be a working document to help you work toward compliance. So change it as many times as you need so you get the plan that is working for your district, because it's going to look different from district to district. Here's what the progress monitoring tab looks like. I do have this slide in here. In case you guys choose 11, 12, and 13, indicators 11, 12, and 13 want to do something here. If indicators 4, 9, and 10 want to put a plan in and some of those things, they certainly can. But this progress monitoring tab is not required. I do encourage you to utilize it, but it is not required in these areas that we're talking about today. But if you choose to use it, then the first box, you're going to summarize your data. You don't have to put in numbers and that kind of thing. You can summarize and say, we've seen this much growth in indicator 11. For instance, we had 10 eligibilities that did not meet the timeline last year. Now we have a plan in place, and at this point, you know, we have everybody meeting the timelines. Or, you know, we've put this process in place. One building is struggling with that timeline. So here's what we're going to do to help them with that. And so this is just kind of a summary of your data, which will help you to kind of go back to your plan to determine, do I need to change my plan or do I need to keep it the same? Again, progress monitoring, not required, but encouraged. And then on the progress monitoring, you're going to put who's responsible and when you're starting and ending that, just as you did on the improvement activity tab. So once you're finished with all of that information, your district entry tab, your improvement activity, your plan in that tab, submit for review is your next, well, could be your next step unless you need to upload information. So to submit this information to the State Department of Ed, you're going to go to the Submit for Review tab, and all we have is a box. That's it. Click the box, you're done. It's come to us for us to review at that point. So I don't know if your superintendent wants to click that button or special ed director. It doesn't matter to us, but someone's going to have to click that to send it to us. For uploads, you're going to go to your Data Review tab. The majority of this tab is where our staff, Cheryl Feliso, will be, if they have to submit something back to you guys for some clarification questions down below all of this, there'll be their questions that you'll be able to see. But at the very top of the Data Review tab, we have left this option for you guys to upload. So for indicators 4, 9, and 10, here's where you go to submit your policies, practices, and procedures here at the Data Review tab. And then you can select, it'll show you what tab or what the name of the file is that you have uploaded. And before you submit, you can also delete. So if you accidentally click the wrong document to upload here, you can remove it from that as well. So be sure, indicators 4, 9, and 10, district review at the top, here's where you upload your policies, procedures, and practices on or before December 31st. So pretty much that's what's expected out of your compliance, indicators 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 that we need you to complete in GMS. The next thing is where this is our second year to do this, that we have uploaded your district data profiles. So you're going to go to GMS Access Select. So maybe you're at home working on these over Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, whatever it happens to be, over the weekend, and you think, I want to see my district data profile before I finish all this up. Here's where you can find it if you forget to bring a copy home. Go to GMS Access Select, and under IDEA, you'll see District Data Profile, and you can click to open. It does not have an edit. There's nothing for you to do and send. It is just a view-only document for you. Now, you can also go back up in the upper left-hand corner, and you can change it to last school year if you want to compare last school year's district data profile to this one. There they are electronically. Now, last year was our first year to upload that, so that's as far back as you'll be able to go. If you want to go back further than that, in comparison with your district data profiles, you're going to have to pull out some hard copies or let us know and we can send you some electronic copies. But here's just a tool that we have implemented for you to have a read-only document of your data and your information. All right, I think most of the questions have been answered as we've gone through. Our goal is for us to have GMS up on Monday. We have worked with Vicki, who's working to get everything loaded, and she is definitely saying that it should be up and ready on Monday so that you can begin working on your requirements in the system. there any questions that I need to answer? I have one that if it's not up Monday, can we let you guys know? We would be happy to let you know if it's not going to be up and ready on Monday. I don't foresee that happening, but definitely can do something like that to send emails out. So I had someone wanting to go back and show how to do the DDPs again. So I'm going to go back a couple, or to view it. You're going to go to GMS Access Select in single sign-on. And then under IDEA, your IDEA information, there'll be a place that says application name, district data profile, and you just off to the right, you click open. Okay, so if you're having specific questions related to data, here is the data team's information. There's Ginger's email and phone number, and on her team we have Tristan and Travis, and there is their contact information. Please feel free to contact them if you have questions regarding and want to fully understand a lot of your data. Some of those questions we can answer as well. Here is my team and our contact information. Kurt Johnson is our alternate assessment specialist. Felisa and Cheryl will be working a lot with all of you guys to ensure and to help support you through this process. And there's their contact information. So if you have questions on the state reported data submitted on time and such, you can contact the data team or Cheryl and Felisa, and they should be able to assist you through that process. Right, at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of you guys' questions. We're going to make sure they're all answered. If not, we will contact you guys and make sure that we provide the supports for you. So feel free to call us, email us. If we don't hear from you, we'll probably send an email out to you guys if your questions have not been answered. Let me go back to the data team page. There's their contact information.
And tell them one more time about posting the slides and the video.
Yes, we will be posting the video on the State Department of Ed website. We've been posting them on the news and memo section of the State Department of Ed website, special education page, news and memos. It should be up first of next week. And we will also post next to it the PowerPoint. So if you want to print the PowerPoint off as you listen to this again and take notes, you are welcome to do so. And then we will go back as well and look at these questions that's been submitted and make sure that everybody's questions have been addressed. At this time, I'm going to close all of this, and I appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you for attending, and again, be sure and answer or call us with any questions that you have.